Hello, and welcome to the Wade Borth podcast. I'm your host, Wade Borth, and in every episode, my goal is to get you to think differently about how money works and ultimately to empower you to take control of your money and your personal financing system. So the biggest fear of retirement, and this is, studies have shown that people when they hit retirement, they have three fears. One is legacy planning, one is what's going to be the cost of healthcare, but one of the biggest things, and probably the very biggest thing that they're concerned in their mind, is this idea of running out of money during retirement. And that, which is perfectly natural, right? So people have worked all their lives, they've been taught to save, we got to save, and now when they get to retirement, what are they forced to do? They're forced to consume their money. So if you think about it from a standpoint of, if I'm out in a forest or I'm out in the wilderness and my car breaks down or I get lost, the first thing I do is take inventory of what my food source is and what my resources are. And what you do automatically is you start rationing those resources because you don't know how long you're going to be out there. So you eat just enough to survive. You do whatever you have just enough to survive that day, not knowing when that rescue is going to be there or when you're going to find your way out of the wilderness. And so retirement planning is very much the same thing. The current retirement planning system, the current industry that we're in, has that very same mindset. It's like, we're going to get to 65, and then when we hit 65, you're going to retire. The big unknown is how long you're going to need money. They're forcing you to consume your dollars that you saved over these years, and now they're saying, we want you to be an expert to say how long you're going to live. And when they force you to be that expert, now you have to make decisions without all the tools or all the availability of the information that's out there. So part of that is that you have to understand that when you turn 65, if you're a man, we hear this all the time, life expectancy is 84 at age 85. Well, realistically, what that means, if you're 65 and healthy, you have a 50% chance of living beyond age 85. So that's all that means of life expectancy, is that's where you have a 50-50 chance of getting out there. But what if you live to 92? And the reason I picked 92 is you have a 25% chance of living beyond 92. So now you have a 75% chance of living beyond 92. So when you start doing your planning, you have to think, oh man, there's a great likelihood I'm going to live past, well into my 90s. And so you think about that, that's scary because we've been told, hey, well, we're gonna plan so you're gonna die at age 85. Well, that's a 50-50 chance. And if you're female, it's age 88 that you have a 50-50 chance, and it's 94 that you have a 25% chance of living beyond. And like most people, or a lot of people that are married, there is a greater possibility that one of you, again, we go back to the 50-50 chance. If you're planning as a unit, husband and wife or spouse or a significant other, whatever it might be, the 50-50 chance that one of you is going to live past 92. And there's a 25% chance in today's age that you're going to live past 97. One of you will. And so when we're doing retirement planning, we have to think about, there's two things we got to think about. Is 65 a reasonable retirement age? Should we, quote unquote, be retiring at age 65? Or should we go find something that we passionately love to do and transition to something else to keep us having income and keep us working? That's a whole other discussion. But the other side is when we make that decision, what are we doing? How are we passing along that risk that one of us is going to live, between my wife and I, one of us is going to live past 97. There's a great possibility that that's going to happen. And so what we've done is, what we do here is we take a look at that and say, what can we do? What's the best way to guarantee an income? Because we don't want assets. A good friend of mine, Tom Hegna, made the comment that people with assets in retirement are miserable. People with income are happy. And so what are we doing to generate income versus holding on and rationing an asset? So again, why not transfer the risk to people that understand risk? And that's typically insurance companies. They understand longevity, right? Take that longevity risk, because that's actually a way bigger risk in retirement planning than anything else, is that we're going to live a lot longer. If you live a short amount of time, then there's a lot less risk. I mean, it stinks for the person that you leave behind, and it doesn't make any difference to you, but the money's still there. But it's that living longer. And the longer you live, your skills deteriorate, Your energy is going to go away, so you don't want to be greeting at Walmart at age 95 because you ran out of money. So there's a real process that we look at when we're planning for retirement. It's like, let's generate a stream of income versus holding on and rationing a bucket of assets. So with the idea of IBC, it is more about we're going to have a asset that's going to be generating dividends and interest on a annual basis each and every year, and more so along the lines of applying the banking principles. So now you become a person that people come to borrow money from, or we're using our policies and the thought process behind IBC to buy those assets that can generate what we call passive income, or income that we can be used that we don't have to actually physically go to work for. The IBC concept can be used in income planning in retirement a couple different ways. One is, once we've built this asset that's a guaranteed asset that never goes backwards, we can start taking money from that asset. It's got guaranteed interest that's going to be generated, and it's going to have dividends, which insurance companies have paid for the last 150 or 200 years without missing a dividend. So there's those streams of income that can support that idea of, now I got an asset that can generate an income that's not correlated to the market. It's not going to run out, as it were, like you would with a traditional 401k or IRA plan. That, again, we're not holding that asset. We want to unleash that asset to generate income coming back to us. And in the earlier years as well, if we're doing it correctly, and when we control that banking function, we can be borrowing money out to other people or borrowing it to ourselves to buy other assets that generate income. A great example would be real estate, for example. If we can buy real estate and we control the banking function, then that real estate, the rent from that, would be our passive income during our lifetime. So the idea is not to own assets that are designed to run out, but rather own assets that are designed to get better over time. And that would be something along the lines of, like I said, real estate is just one example. Just a really good example of that as well is, people like, oh, I don't want to buy a stream of income. That's not what I want to do. I want to own my 401k asset. But we all believe in Social Security, or at least a good portion of us think that it's going to be there, or it is there for people right now. But that's just a stream of income. It's the same thing. So when we start looking at what we want to do with our money, why not say, well, I want to buy a stream of income? And that's how we have to think about it. A guaranteed stream of income for the rest of my life. And when that is done, then that stress is taking off of you, or you having to manage your bucket of money, your resources, because you don't know how long you're going to live. So you move from the scarcity mindset to this abundant mindset once you do that. Because, again, my friend Tom Hegna wrote in his book, I love the phrase he uses. He goes, a lot of people in retirement, when they have this bucket of money, they live a just-in-case retirement, right? So they don't want to spend money just in case the market goes down, or just in case they live longer, or just in case something happens. So they don't spend and enjoy their retirement money. Versus those that live in abundance going, hey, I get up the first of every month. I know that I have a paycheck inside my checking account. Now I'm going to go and play my round of golf, or I'm going to go fishing, or whatever it is you're doing in retirement that you find to be enjoyable. So don't live that just in case retirement, but start planning and say, what can I do to generate cash flow in my retirement years, versus thinking the scarcity side is like, well, I got to conserve this because I just don't know how long I'm going to live. And again, as we get older and as technology moves along, the idea that we, especially a husband and wife or couples, one of us is going to hit 100 or over. There's a great likelihood that that's going to happen. So think long term and think abundance. And how can we generate abundance? If you're enjoying this podcast, or know anyone else that might be interested, please be sure to hit the subscribe button, and please leave a review. This will help this podcast reach and help more people by ranking higher in searches, and ultimately help more people get out of financial bondage. And don't be afraid to share this podcast with your friends and family, as we can be easily found on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.